Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Comic Art Live. As many of you know, I had a surgery less than a week ago, and I feel great. And actually got a haircut. Hey, I got a haircut, too. And unfortunately, it looked a lot better when it was wet. I have got this Prince Valiant kind of thing going on right now, and I'm going to get a second haircut. I just didn't want to run back in and get it done anytime soon. So it might be another week or two for that. But but I'm back 95%.
Yay, Bill.
Yeah,
and you got a twofer. You got the haircut in the hospital, right, while they were performing the surgery?
You know, I was actually blaming the surgery on the haircut because I got the haircut the day before all the pain started, and I think that somehow I lost some powers when I cut that, like 8 to 10 inches of hair.
He's Samson guy.
Now, did you ask for the buzz cut, and they were like, no, you look better like this?
I told them I wanted it off my shoulders, and when she had it cut, it looked like she cut a lot off, and she actually shaved the sides and everything. And then when so it looked good when I was there, and then it dried, and I was like, shoot, man, I look like I'm something out of a '50s serial cartoon or something. So no, I
thought you were gonna say serial killer, but okay.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Vote of confidence from you, my buddy. Anyway, happy to be back, and I'm glad we're here to talk about. We're going to
an animal. You're a monster that you came back. Amazing.
Yeah. It's the miracles of modern hospitalization and surgery. I was impressed. I actually had no pain after about 12 hours. It was really surprising, and that was on no medication whatsoever because I shunned it, and they wanted to give me morphine and all these other things while I was there, and I'm just like, no. I didn't feel bad, and I'd rather know if I have a pain, and so I came out of it, and I just said, they sent me home with Vicodin, and like I said, I probably had tried 3 tablets, and it just never did anything for me. I never felt any different, so I just stopped taking them. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mike's going to come over there with a care package for you. That'll take care of you.
Sure. Oh, here, I have it. Hold on.
I hear there's an X-Men page in the care package.
There it is. There's your care package. We got to bring up that story whenever we're bored one day, Bill.
Yeah, it's another medical story too, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's here to talk medical situations. I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mike jokes about the Mentos because one year we went to a wizard show together, and my wife sent me with literally like a case of Mentos. I have no idea why. And I am walking around the show floor in the first half hour. I'd left Mike's booth, and the first Mentos I bite into fractures and shatters like one of my rear molars. And so we're 6.5 hours from home. My tooth just turned to shards in my mouth. I'm spitting it out in my hand, and I can't tell what's a Mento and what's my tooth. And I go back to Mike, and I'm like, son of a bitch, look at all this. It's a mess. And Mike, he kept a straight face. Everything was good. But for the rest of the show, every time I turned down the blanket on my bed, there was a pack of Mentos. Every time I went to the bathroom and rolled the toilet paper out, a Mentos would fall out. I think when I got in the car, his coat was on the passenger seat, and I pick up his coat. There's a couple packs of Mentos. So yeah, Mike just likes to rub it in.
Yes, and Nick, it's the same 4 characters.
When you visited me at the house.
Oh yeah, and every time I go to Mike's place, there's usually a pack of Mentos someplace just for me.
You guys keep going. I'm going to talk about the Baby Ruth story that happened to me when I was 8 years old. And I'll take 10 minutes doing it. I promise.
Oh, that was a funny one.
Yeah, it was a funny one. We've got it out.
You got it fixed, but you did get it fixed, right?
I did get it fixed. Yeah, it took a while, but
I hear they packed it.
I got a question for you guys. Are you guys aware there was a comic art auction?
What?
The other day?
Oh yeah, last night. Comic Link. Last night, the Comic Link.
No. I'm talking about over the weekend and last week. There was another comic auction which you may have participated in. You don't remember that far back? It's called Heritage.
Heritage. Yeah, I've heard of them.
So I mean, maybe we have some thoughts about that kind of thing,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some images I can queue up here. so we can talk about. I mean, and we could start off with the the top selling item of the show, which was the Brian Bolland Killing Joke page. At first I was really surprised at the amount that it received, and then after I did some research after the auction, there's actually 3 other sales for over $100,000 through Heritage as well. One was actually for the page 1 from the story, which went for $120,000 in August 2018. The page 14 went for $107,000 in 2014, and let's see, and it looks like page 1 actually it must be mismarked. No, it's 11, sold for $102,000 last November 2019. So it wasn't unheard of. I mean, at the time when I saw it, I was a little surprised. But if you go and look on CAF and you do a search for Bolland Killing Joke, and you order it by most comments, as far as like page quality, I mean, this is a beautiful page, but there are some really incredible pages from this story on CAF. Like Felix Liu has one of my favorite ones, and Joseph Melchior has a really nice page that are much better than this one. And so at the end of the day, if this is the the new norm for a page from this story, which is arguably probably one of the the greatest Batman stories ever, or Joker stories, 156,000. I just can't imagine what other pages from that book that are more prominently feature Batman battling Joker would be going for.
I think what the stark contrast is that you had that juxtaposition against the Kirby X-Men 4 splash. This is a 1963 or maybe early 1964 Jack Kirby page 1 going for less money than the Killing Joke. And it's not to disparage the Killing Joke. It is beautiful work. But I would agree with you. I didn't think this was, a phenomenal page from the book. It wasn't like the Joker origin retelling, or it's just a nice looking page. So I mean, when you put it against something like the Kirby X-Men 4 splash, or even the FF95 cover, the Sal Buscema Avengers cover, I mean, you could have gotten 2 or 3 of those items, vintage 60s Marvel, for the price of the Killing Joke. Now, maybe you have no interest in 60s Marvel, but conventional wisdom would probably tell you otherwise.
Well, one of the things that I thought about was, I guess, like the interior page that has sold for the most at auction was the first appearance of Wolverine, right? I think that's like the highest page, and I was trying to figure out what the is this like number 2? Like, is there another interior page that's not a splash or a half splash that that has sold for this kind of money at auction? I'm talking about, not privately, because I've heard some of these pages have traded higher privately.
You're talking Killing Joke.
Killing Joke, yes, Killing. So I'm just trying to think about, like, like what else is higher interior page wise, or at this level?
Not much. Ditko.
I can't think of anything.
Kirby. I mean,
yeah, I mean, like, it's
181. I mean,
it's like it's basically the price of like the battle page that you sold, Mike, with by Steve Ditko, with Green Goblin versus Spider-Man, like that really great page. Wasn't that like about 150?
Yes, it was.
So I mean, again, I mean, this is
all about what you love.
It's true.
And some people love this. For Batman,
it's a great story. I mean, Alan Moore is a fantastic writer, and it really is a phenomenal piece of writing. And I guess Brian Bolland is arguably the guy you want on Batman. So for for a certain group of people that grew up reading this is the ultimate. So I guess it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, personally, I think, like you, Will, there are a lot of things that I would rather have for that money than this particular page. Although it is nice.
I mean, it's just to put one last perspective on it. I talked to a couple other dealers and even collectors, and said, if somebody came up to you at a show and offered you trade you that Killing Joke page for, you know, something you had on your wall for that was maybe, I don't know, $60,000, would you have done it? And not a one said yes.
Right.
So just
Right.
to give it another perspective.
Yeah. Well, it was a surprise.
Yeah, this one here was a great page. You know, I know you noticed they listed this saying there was like 4 permanent creases in it, and yet you can't really even see it from the front. So
who did the restoration work on this? Was it Gordon, or was it?
I have no idea, but
Robert
it looked
Dennis?
good.
I don't even know that it was any kind of restoration. I mean, you know.
Oh no. I saw this page like when Anthony first got it. It was a mess. It was like it was brown, and there were definitely creases. And
I remember the creases, but Mike's right. You could only really see them from the back. They weren't that prominent in the front.
See it from the front.
I figured, you know, pressing is not considered restoration in comics these days. So maybe it's not considered restoration in art. I don't know.
Maybe not.
I was considering placing a bid on this one, but I held off. But I think the buyer got a good buy on it because I think it's a great piece.
I'm pretty sure it was whitened because I remember it being a lot darker too.
Okay.
Me too.
And that would qualify for restoration.
Definitely.
Right. I think I looked as far as Kirby X-Men pages. The next closest sale was from November 2018 for the page 1 title page to X-Men 10, and it sold for $99,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, years ago, I sold the Splash to issue 2, but we're talking like 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I sold the Splash to 2, which is better than this one. I sold it for $77,000. They're great. They're great pieces, and I thought that was a good buy. You know, it's the only one, and you know,
there was a correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a 2/3 Splash from issue 9 with the Avengers.
Yeah.
I think that sold for somewhere in the $80,000 range.
The battle
4 years ago.
Well, that was like that had Chickstone inks and some Avengers on it as well, and
yeah.
So,
but you're going back, Bill, to the FF cover.
Yeah, I was going to go to that one right now. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. But yeah, I said that's a good one. I have to confess, I was the underbidder on this one. Yeah, maybe I should have made another bid, but I said it was still too early. But I think it's a great cover, and I think it was a good buy to whoever got it.
If only Spider-Man had been on it, you would have pushed it.
Yeah, Spidey 73 I'd have gone hog wild for you.
Oh,
Kirby said.
So
you mean FF 73?
Or I'm sorry, FF 73. I meant right.
Yeah,
I thought this was a good buy too, and in fact, I talked to a few collectors that were, you know, sort of lamenting that they didn't go after it, and one of them actually might, you know, try and contact the winner and buy it for more. So I definitely think this was a good buy. I definitely thought it was going to do 150, and
I thought it was going to go higher.
I was surprised it didn't. I guess the fact that it had been auctioned in Hakes before may have been part of the reason why it underperformed. But you don't see these covers out there. I mean, a lot of collectors talk to me about wanting to pick one up, and I mean, this certainly ticks off a lot of the boxes of what you'd want in an FF cover. You've got the Torch in Flames. It's a battle cover. You've got the Thing on the cover. You got all 4 of them in action.
All 4, yeah.
So, you know, maybe image-wise, it's not your absolute favorite cover, but it certainly has a lot going for it.
It's got all the elements right there for you. But I mean, I confess it is not one of my, one of the first covers I think of from the run, but it does check all the boxes. But truth be known, and you guys know this, I mean, you can go back 10, 20, 30 years or more. Kirby FF covers were always tough. There were more floating around back in, say, the 1990s. But they were always, fairly tough to pin down. I mean,
I remember it took me years to convince you to sell me the FF76 years ago when, and finally,
shortly, apparently. No,
I don't have it anymore either.
So. Well, I wouldn't either. But no, they've always been tough. I mean, It was Marvel's flagship title for years, and you know they don't grow on trees. And the strange thing is that you know there seem to be fewer small size covers that have surfaced. I mean, they certainly all exist, but they seem to come up less frequently. And I think that's sort of a function of because they are up until recent years more affordable, and people were less inclined to give them up.
When these things were in the $15,000 to $30,000 range, you didn't see that many of them either. And the ones that you did see was like the cover with the wizard on it, or covers that like didn't have the FF.
The wanted poster, the thing on the wanted poster.
Yeah, the wanted poster, right? That bounced around a lot. Although you don't see the wizard cover I always like, and you don't really see those anymore. But the other thing with the FF is like obviously the Marvel Cinematic Universe is eventually, when we get past this COVID thing, we'll tackle the FF, and a piece like this I think definitely has a lot of room to grow. Certainly at the price where it was bought.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like one of the bargains of the if you can call $114,000 a bargain, that was a bargain.
I thought, I mean, if you remember, I said I thought it would go between 110 and 125. So I mean, it went right in there. That's what I expected. But I mean, just and again, you guys know this, and people in the audience know this as well. But a lot of six-figure pieces, I find, tend to underperform at auction. Tend to go more privately. I'm not saying everything, because obviously there's some six-figure pieces that have, in most people's views, overperformed at auction. But if you look, beyond the lights and the glitz of what sold for a record price and just look at results, even at things that you're less interested in, you'll see that a lot of higher ticket pieces don't always sort of maximize at auction. And I mean, that's a function of it being a snapshot right at that moment. Who's got the money? Who's bidding? Who's paying attention? Who's looking at something else? I mean, there's so many factors that come into play, whereas in a private deal, it tends to be protracted, maybe over with time payments. So, there's a different dynamic going on. But I have certain, when I read record-setting price at auction, I've sold, similar items, meaning same artist, same title, for more money, 3, 4, 5 years earlier. And I can say that many times, as can you guys.
That's what you need to do. I think you need to go out there and start saying record price at
there's always
the dealer's website.
It was probably all trade. That's that's the naysayers. And I mean, I'm honest. Some was cash. I'm not going to tell you the exact amount, maybe.
Right.
It was a cash trade deal, but sometimes it was a cash deal. So
absolutely.
I think that is one of the factors here why,
especially now,
like this tend to stay down a little bit.
I think that a few years ago, 5 years ago, even I was doing much more in trade. I find a lot of the transactions for higher end items tend to be for all cash. They just do. Because it's hard. It's really hard to structure a six-figure deal and take trade. It's not that I'm unwilling to do it. It's just that trying to come to a consensus on what that trade is worth is sometimes more difficult than just sort of saying like, I'll just pay for it with people that can afford it.
Yeah. No,
I've always said just because something sells at auction doesn't mean that's what it's worth. Just means that's what it's.
Yeah, I say that, Mike. I tell people all the time, it's a snapshot. It's a snapshot in time.
A lot of people always say that, well, it sold at auction for this, so it's worth that. And I go, man, we all know there's a lot of good buys at auctions where you could sell something. I can't tell you how many times I've sold something at auction and made 50 to 100% profit a month after the auction. So,
You mean you bought something at auction?
I sold it. The piece I bought at auction, I sold and made 50.
Yeah. No, okay, I got you.
And so I'm going to me, whatever a piece sells for, it was worth that much on that day. That's all.
Absolutely, it's a snapshot.
For whoever had the money, So.
Right.
But,
I wonder.
It's still a good ride, but it's not the end all.
And this was one of the earlier auctions of the day, right? So I would think that's got to. Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to. In a weird way, that has to affect things. Was, especially if some buyers are thinking about something else that's coming up.
Yeah.
They're gonna maybe slow down their bids, with that kind of stuff in mind. I mean, it's funny how all that can all play into what the final price ends up being.
That plays a lot into. I always said I wish John Romita's name was John A. Romita, so that way it'd be at the beginning of the auction. So that way I know what I'm up against with him being an R. I will say there's a lot of times, and I mean even Albert Moy can attest. I think sometimes Neil Adams, sometimes some of his stuff goes a little cheaper because he's at the beginning. Sometimes you collect Wally Wood and Bernie Wrightson. It's at the end of the auction. Everybody spent their money. There's sometimes I've gotten good deals on Wood and Wrightson at the end or Adams at the beginning.
So
at auction, as crazy as that sounds. Yep.
Like, I mean, this is a thought, Mike. Like, how much money is it worth for you to pay John Romita to change his last name?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll talk to him about it.
Glenn, he's already got, half the output or more, so it's no sense in doing it at this point. I mean, if he'd done it,
years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you have an artist that's at the end of the alphabet and you're waiting for it, you're going like, I can't go out for that because I got to wait for this at the end. So it does play into it when you have a certain amount of funds and you're looking at auctions and aren't coming up earlier. It's like, I got to wait because I want to get this later in the auction,
So maybe maybe Heritage should mix it up. They should just
I'm just saying it's not a bad idea. Or it's sort of funny. I mean, they're smaller by comparison. As you know, Comic Connect, they go by title of the art versus the artist. When they sell their auctions. So
right,
I'd be okay with that with Amazing Spider-Man. All them going first, so you know what you're up against. So, but I do think, as crazy as it sounds, last name of artist comes into play at auction sometimes.
Placement comes into play, and
very much so.
See sometimes where pieces are taken out of their normal order, and that's done strategically, by the auction house. So
I agree.
Well, I mean, I actually believe that the auction house will, if you request it, I think that they will place it in a different spot. So I don't know that it has to necessarily be, but I mean, most people don't think about doing that. So
yeah.
You mean as a seller consigning to them?
Yeah, as a consigner, I've got this great piece of art, but I'm very concerned about where it's gonna, I mean, if you've got a $200,000 or a $100,000 piece of art, I guarantee you, any one of these auction houses are going to say, yes, of course we want to auction your artwork. And if you have issues with placement, I believe you can negotiate where they're going to be placed in the auction. There's no law that says they can't auction a Neil Adams cover after the Wrightson. I mean, if that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's never happened, but other than Platinum Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, it might happen in Platinum. It would happen in Platinum.
No,
maybe
but I don't know if it's happened for that reason, but it's definitely happened, Mike. I mean, there's definitely been some places. If you look back, listen. If you look back at the catalogs, there have been times where artists with the last name B comes after G, or I've seen that happen. So it doesn't happen commonly, but it even happened in this past auction. I don't remember. I'd have to look in the catalog to remember what it was. It was somewhere midway, and it was on Friday. But there was some out of alphabetical order going on.
Okay. Well, I've never seen it, but not that it hasn't happened.
All right.
What do you got next, Willie?
Well, I did pull up the
the cover. The cover of the catalog. Yeah, I thought that did well. It sold for about what it should have. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, here's my thought. How much is the second page worth versus the first page?
Well, it's worth probably 80 to
90% of it. Yeah, I'd say 80% of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing, though, I mean, again, in terms of a purchase that has growth potential, I mean, this is a piece that this is a piece that is fantastic for origin page drawn by the creator, Jack Kirby. And
I can feel it.
And how many of those are there besides besides FF1 and
other side, Glenn?
Well,
thanks.
FF1, FF3.
Yeah, I mean, but this came out right around like FF10, didn't it? FF10
yeah, this might have been the
That's what I
third
thought.
retelling. I believe this is the third retelling.
But it is Kirby Airs, which is like the first art team. So I mean, you know, it's
That's a good piece.
And you know, I think this in time will turn out to be a bargain.
Yeah. Well, this book was complete until not that long ago, so obviously whoever it sold to split it up and probably made a good decision. But this book was complete up until a couple of years ago. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm going to skip over the Frazetta Fire and Ice one. You know, I'll tell you this: the most surprising piece in the auction for me was this one. Yeah. You know, I mean, I just it was $78,000, and I mean, I know it's a really popular comic. You know, it ranks up there as far as you know, as far as something that's been done in the last 20 years. That it's one of the top selling comics out there still in the aftermarket. But I just was surprised at the dollar amount, and I just, you know, I'm an X fan too, and you know, I like the character. I just never would have thought that as a character driven piece that it could realize that much money in so short a time. I mean, this is from 2004, and I think
what did it sell for previously? I didn't look it up. What did it sell for previously?
I think it was 78 or something.
Same thing.
Right around almost the same price.
Oh.
It sold through both auctions.
I mean, I was surprised both times. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
Has this? I mean, I haven't read much of her as a character. So what she's like? Is this like Wolverine's daughter or something like that? Is this X-23 or?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I mean, has this character really been exploited in the last 5 years by Marvel? You know, I mean, I know when she first started, you know, there was a lot of buzz, but you know, what have any of you guys read the storylines? Is it interesting? Like, you know, I mean, is there a huge following? Do we know anything about that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have not followed it that closely, to be honest, but I, you know, I did a little bit of research as far as the book goes, and this is like, you know, as far as like popular and high priced books of the last 20 years, you know, it ranks up there with like Walking Dead #1 as being, you know, as far as sought after back issue.
What is the first appearance issue go for? Like for the comic book?
You know, that I did not look that closely at.
Like $200, like $200, something like that. Or no, Walking Dead goes for like over 1,000, right?
Right. I was gonna say Walking Dead. You know, those would be a lot more than that. So
like the first Harley Quinn. I don't know if that still goes for big bucks.
Right.
Well, we're showing our great knowledge about comic books here.
Yeah,
modern comics. That's
exactly.
For sure.
Someone just commented she was featured in the Logan film, and that's what I was going to say.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think that has the major factor as to why
that makes sense.
This went for so much. Somebody initially may have been speculating. Even I mean, I don't know. I don't want to ascribe.
Makes sense.
You know,
somebody just said the comic book is $800. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So.
1,000. Yeah,
I thought the character was great in the Logan movie. I thought that was an awesome movie.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
I thought the movie was great.
Yeah. But I know that
don't spoil it. I still haven't seen it. It's one of the few movies I haven't seen yet, so don't spoil it.
Okay, well, she's in the movie, so
I kind of figured that one.
Oh,
really good director, Mangold.
Huh.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know that Heritage, you know, is and it's, I don't know, you know, it probably is true. You know, says that this is is the highest priced piece in this century. You know, for artwork created in the
2000s. Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen a lot of you know, modern new covers from Jim Lee go for really high and those sorts of things, but it makes this piece, you know, all that more impressive. I mean, it's in pencil too, on top of everything else.
Yeah, right.
So, let's see. So I was going to, you know what, the Marvel Tales one is up next, actually, and the skipping around that I was looking into here. And
I said they finally listened the day of the auction. You see, the announcer of the auction finally said, "This cover is all Romita pencils and inks."
Yeah, you know, I didn't understand that because, I mean, they listed it as John Romita layouts and then Don Heck pencils and Mike Esposito inks, and that's what the interior says, like for the interior pages of the original, not the reprint.
I think they were looking at the interiors from Spidey 60. Exactly.
But like, so it made me wonder, like, did the consignor himself give them the credits? Like, how did they come up with that idea? I mean, you just look at this piece and you're like, well, that image of Spider-Man was on the cover to Color Forms when I was a kid. It was on my vitamins.
Hundreds. It's been reprinted hundreds of times, that image of Spider-Man.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's obviously like a Romita Spider-Man, and like you figure like, and the Kingpin looks like Romita, so you figure the cover's got to be all Romita.
It's all Romita. It's all Romita.
Glenn, you took your vitamins apparently, but no. This is not the first time that a piece has potentially suffered in terms of bidding because the description was, somewhat ambiguous or even incorrect. I know in the earlier days of Heritage, and this is not to bash Heritage at all. I do a decent amount of business with them, and but in the earlier days, they would, I feel, over-explain condition on pieces to the point that if you read the piece, and some of these pieces I would, when they had the previews in New York, I would go to them after reading descriptions, something I was interested in, and look at the piece and go, wow, somebody's being really, really harsh on this piece. Like the condition they're describing doesn't match to me and to other people that had seen it. And, I think that has cost them sales in the not sales, but bids, higher bids in the past. They're probably a lot more balanced now, but I mean, like anyone, they're not infallible, and they, they flubbed this one a bit and they corrected it at the last minute. And, I mean, it wouldn't have gone for 50% more, but maybe it would have gone another tick or two higher. Who knows? We'll never know.
Yeah. Right. I don't think it's beautiful piece, cheap or anything like that, but I think it, sold close to market. But it's a unique piece just because of because of the Spider-Man image being used for merchandising so many times.
Absolutely.
Not many people remember this comic book, but they remember that Spidey image,
I remember the Color Forms now that you mentioned it, Glenn. That's I was like, I know I've seen this. Yeah, I had Color Forms.
I knew you played with Color Forms. I knew that about you.
Migos, Color Forms, G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, what can I say?
And Shrinky Dinks.
No, not so much.
No, not so much.
Wait a minute, I like Shrinky Dinks. They were fun.
Yeah, they got hard.
You baked them.
You baked them, yeah. Exactly.
I know, but they got all. I like the Color Forms better. And you could cross pollinate with your Color Forms, different play sets.
Do you have more, Bill, or
they were compact? You could take them anywhere, But that's enough of that. What's next?
I only picked a couple other ones, and I don't know. I know. Let's see. I like the Charles Schultz piece. I mean,
that was a great one.
I thought it was a really good one, and I thought it was going to go for more than 48. I thought, but I know that the market, I know that with the saturation that's kind of gone out there, there used to be a time when these would go for a lot more, but 48 seemed to be a little light, I think, on it. I mean, everybody loves anything related to, baseball, right? I mean, I'm assuming, Mike, you've had a few of these.
Oh, yeah.
Hands.
Mike loves his peanuts.
I thought it went for about right. I think this is from 73. Was this one from 73?
72.
72. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I felt 50 was retail on, and I think when it didn't sell for like 48 or something.
48. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was the market. The thing that I thought was key was that they usually have 3 Sundays and like 10 dailies in every auction. I think they only had this one piece. I think.
True. They were light with peanuts.
Surprised that their offerings of peanuts were down this time. That was all.
I don't know the peanuts market as well as you, Mike, because you've certainly had your fair share. But and you may know. I know who put this in here. I won't say their name, but I don't think they were particularly happy with the price. And from what I gathered from a couple Peanuts collectors, they thought compared to things that have sold before, it went a bit light, considering the subject matter as well. So
the ones that have gone for a lot more lately have always been from the 50s, though. What I found out from the Sundays.
Okay.
But I thought it was worth 50, so it went for a tiny bit less.
Okay.
So one of the I don't. Are you done with pictures, Bill? I'll just talk about like one of the things that really stuck out for me was that I thought way overperformed was the Jack Kirby self-portrait with like the Thing and Jack Kirby, and
that was my next piece on my list.
That was $43,000, and I
can't even keep a straight face on that one, but
yeah, 44,400, and I think it's okay to share this. A friend of mine actually got it, and I was actually on the phone with him live, and he stopped at 27, and I kept telling him, "You got to get this. You got to get this. Bid." And he puts in another bid, and it's at like at 32. Another guy bids, and I go, "Come on, you knew Jack Kirby personally. You got to bid. Okay, I'll bid." And he bids the next lot, and he goes, "Okay, I'm out of bids." And I have to confess, I go, "I have a cut bid. Do you want me to bid on this for you?" I go, "No." I go, "You really should get it. You got to get it. You got to get it." But 1 second ago, he goes, "Bid for me." And so I bid for him and won it for him. So now he's mad.
Peer pressure, Mike. Peer pressure.
Now he's mad at me, and he said his wife wants to divorce him. So
Mike, I'm never coming to your house during Heritage.
Or you don't want to be on the phone with him. That's for sure.
So his wife hates him, so now he said he has to sell a bunch of stuff from his collection to appease his wife to pay this off. So
well, the one thing I don't think he can sell is this piece, because I think he's going to own that for a long time.
I think I don't know if I should say this or not. Believe it or not, he said he's going to, which I think is very admirable. In his will, he's going to gift this to a Kirby family member when he passes it in his will.
Okay, that's nice.
So I thought that was pretty awesome that he said he's going to do that. So
that's really nice.
Now
very close to his family. So
I don't think he watches this show because I don't think he's on the internet much. But I mean, if he ever sees it, we should stop chuckling so much. It's a beautiful piece.
I told him, I go, he goes, I said, every year in San Diego, you're going to thank me that you got it. And he goes, I probably will. So
he's going to thank you. All right.
He goes, my wife doesn't want me calling you ever again.
You're going to owe him lunch and dinner like every day for the next 10 San Diego.
He goes, Heritage should owe you a perk for that, for me raising the price like 20 extra grand. I go, well, so that was kind of funny.
Peer pressure, Mike. Peer pressure.
Listen, I don't think when we're talking about prices here, prices and art don't necessarily have a lot to do with each other. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of art. Any one of us would be happy to own that and keep that piece of art. It's just a matter of like where you buy it. So, I mean, at the price it was bought, it feels really, really expensive, but that doesn't make it a bad piece of artwork.
It's a nice piece. I mean, and listen, I don't think it was billed and marketed as such. At least they didn't focus on it, but it is a Jack Kirby self-portrait.
Right.
With how many of those are out there?
With arguably the character that he's like most
identifies with, the Thing. Yeah.
With Doom and Red Skull, So
I mean, several of his creations, but the Thing is certainly who he identified with. So
totally agree. So
listen, we may look back in 5 years and he may thank you, but I think in certainly 2020, but 2021, I don't think he's going to be too happy with you.
Well, the way I told him was, I go, you have 40 grand piece of art that would you rather have this or that? He goes, I'd rather have this. I go, then you buy it. That's what I told him. You buy it. So you sell something else.
It is easy to start when you start comparing apples and oranges and start justifying it. It gets hairy quick.
I think bottom line here, Mike, is that Heritage owes you a commission for your salesmanship.
Yeah, I helped them. So.
Now let's make sure that's not misconstrued in any way. But
correct.
You were egging on your friend who we all know.
Correct.
Let's take a question here. If you were the consignor of this piece, going back to the Marvel Tales, would you be upset at the late update that it was all Ramita and undersold? Brian, I would say that I don't think it undersold by much. I'm just speculating that perhaps it would have gone another bid or even two. But honestly, a Marvel Tales cover at $60K is not like a bargain. It didn't sell for 40.
The highest price ever. To me, I actually thought it sold for right where it went, or I saw it sold pretty good.
What price?
If I was a consumer, I'd have been happy with that sale. So.
What price did I say before the auction, Glenn? We were talking about this piece, and I think I said 55 to 65 would be
right,
pretty much at the top.
I think that's what you said, yeah.
But I thought it would not do much over 50, 55. So,
right. I mean, my thinking about the consignor is I would like to get to the bottom of like who put that description in there. I mean, to me it feels like the consignor may have presented it that way because it's such an unusual description to put in for that piece. Like it would never occur to me that Don Heck or Esposito worked on that cover. So my thought is maybe the consignor for whatever reason thought because it was the reprint to that issue that those were the credits and presented it to them that way. So I don't know where the fault lies, so to speak.
There is perhaps a lesson in here. If you consign something, that you should probably read the description and make sure that you agree with it. I mean, I know I always do for the few times I've consigned pieces to various auctions, and I think you guys have done so as well. I've even written some of the descriptions myself because I wasn't happy with how it was described, and I think I know other people that have done that. But yeah, I mean, maybe the consignor was under that impression that it was, part Heck or mostly Heck or whatever. But
I thought it performed well.
Overall, yes, I agree. I'm just saying, but yeah, he's right. I mean,
I don't think it would have done a ungodly higher sum.
Definitely not. No.
No, it would have done an ungodly higher sum had it been like an Amazing Spider-Man cover. Like if the title was different.
Correct.
But, reprint covers tend to sell in a range.
Yeah. But let's see.
Yeah, Brian said he's just saying he would have gone one bit higher had he known, but he figured someone else knew better than he. So it all goes back to learn it, and be confident. Takes time.
Brian, you're more of an interior collector anyway, so you didn't want that piece. So it's all good. That's an inside joke. But hey, I was just going to mention a couple things. The Defender 6 cover. I like that cover. I thought that was pretty good. That sold for.
I like that cover too.
Oh, there it is, 43,200. I thought that was an awesome cover.
And you know what's funny? In normal, if you erase a few of the last Sal Buscema pieces that came to auction, I think this was 42,000 or something. You would say, wow, it's a strong result. But given what some Sal Buscema pieces have sold for in recent auctions, I thought, and I did think they were going to slow down. I didn't think they're going to, all sell for 80 to 100K. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. These things were thought to be, 15 to 30K, and all of a sudden they're 80 to 100. But I did think this would hit 50 just because of what, some of the other covers have gone for. You could argue that some of the other ones were better, but this is a nice cover. I mean,
it's early. It's an early cover, and it has, covers that have tend to have the surfer on it, and in such a great pose, tend to do better. So I agree with you, Will. I thought this cover was going to do 50 myself, and I was surprised that. I mean, not that 43,000 is underperforming, but
no, it's just that others were so overperforming.
Yeah,
maybe, perhaps.
Right. I have to confess, I was the underbidder on this cover. I liked it because my feeling was I love Hulk covers, and I said, you know what? I've paid 50,000 for Hulk covers. I go, this is as nice as a Hulk cover, but
there's no Hulk
on it. Early in the auction, I just said, I'm not.
Well, he's right up there in the corner, underneath 20 cents.
Oh, the Hulk is in there in the stand. I didn't realize my little buddy was there. Hulk was on the cover. I'd have bid a little higher. So.
Well, yeah. Now we know to avoid any covers with Hulk on it.
Yep. So that was that.
And Nick Katradis commented Defender 6 was a bargain, and yes, compared to past results, but I think someone may be showing how much they like Sal Buscema.
Yeah. I thought the Avengers 69 cover was one of the best deals in the auction. I don't know if you
Absolutely.
That was a good deal.
Absolutely. Probably the one.
Avengers 69 I thought was a phenomenal deal. I thought was worth almost double what it sold for.
What was the?
Absolutely agree.
What did you say, Mike? I didn't hear what you said after your
Avengers 69 I thought was worth almost double what it sold for. Sold for 36.
Right.
That was a great buy.
I thought that was a 65K cover all day long and maybe 70.
It will be now.
Yeah.
It will be soon.
Yeah.
Once the logo is firmly placed.
Yeah, right. And cleaned. I thought the FF210, the Pollard FF210 cover sold for 38.4. I thought that was a strong buy. And
a Pollard cover, yeah.
And I tell people I've been telling people for years, Keith Pollard to me is probably the most underrated artist I thought of the late 70s, early 80s.
He is. His prices have taken quite a jump, but the reason for that, because that doesn't look like a signature Keith Pollard cover. I have a few Keith Pollard covers, and I've owned a number, and I mean it really is because it's Galactus, and because those few issues of FF from say 200 to 212, somewhere in there. There's like a real cult following for those, and then you put Galactus in there and black backgrounds. I mean, it's not the most. It's not my favorite cover, and I know that run pretty well. But it's Galactus. That's why.
Right. I thought that was a great cover, but I was surprised. I thought the price. I thought it sold well. So 38.4. I thought was a great price for it.
Yeah, that's a good price.
Strong.
I was thinking it would be like 30.
I was wondering what you guys thought. The back cover to the Spidey Superman Treasury, that's like Andrew Adams mixture of everybody, with them folding arms. It's more of a portrait piece, but a lot of people I was reading on other boards thought it sold cheap. I thought it was a cool piece.
That seemed pretty cheap to me. I mean,
what did it go for again?
33.6.
That doesn't feel cheap to me. To me, that feels like a pinup. I mean, and people don't recognize back covers like they do front covers.
Right, and who did what?
What did that interior go for last? Not this auction, but the auction before. There was like an interior splash with Superman punching Spider-Man.
Yeah, or Spider-Man punching Superman.
Spider-Man punching Superman.
More.
What did that? Wasn't that like?
That one sold pretty well. I don't remember what it sold for.
It was. I think it was like twice this one, basically.
It might have been in the 60s or 70s.
Well, that's because he's laying a punch on him.
Right.
That's the big draw. It's like Batman punching out Guy Gardner. There's a premium way above.
Here you got here you got both heroes. They're like full body, they're like
It's a beautiful piece. I'm just saying I didn't think it was like a super bargain or anything.
Right.
Okay.
The next one I thought the DD 184 page selling for 33.6. That one was a surprise.
Wait, can we look at the comments for a sec? I mean, there's a lot of interesting comments, but. Scott Spilkey asks, in these signature auctions, what percentage are bidding or deep-pocketed speculators willing to overpay because they don't know the market? And Nick answers roughly 95%. Come on.
That's a silly comment.
I know, but I mean, let's.
That's the one that sold for big money. That's a good one.
People buy into these comments. People believe this stuff. I mean,
Bill, what did that sell for? Do you have the result?
Yeah, it sold for $60,000 in March.
With the juice?
That's with the juice, yeah.
Oh, okay,
But that is a splash. I thought you meant a panel. Yeah, no. I mean, this is worth more than the back cover for certain.
I kind of like the back cover better, actually. But yeah, this is worth more.
Yeah, I'd much rather have that for sure. We'll go on. Just things that I thought things that I personally thought sold high was the Miller Daredevil at 184, the Conan 27.
Wait, you thought that sold high, the Miller?
Yeah, 33.6. I thought that was high.
It's a lot of money, but compared to what some Miller stuff is selling for recently, that didn't surprise me at all. I mean, Punisher, Daredevil. I mean, that's you got Elektra, Kingpin, Bullseye, or Punisher. Those are the characters people want fighting Daredevil.
And a couple of years that piece was on another dealer's website who isn't present for $40,000.
This one was?
Yeah, not a website, but at a show.
Wow. Conan 27 splashed by John Buscema, 31.2.
That was a lot. That felt like a lot.
That one surprised me.
So here's what I don't get about that. So I'm assuming the reason why the interested buyers were frantic to get that piece is because it's the first John Buscema issue. And it's a nice image of Conan on a horse and all that. But I never really thought, it's not like, to me, it's not like Conan is like Spider-Man in that, like, you want the first issue where John Romita worked on Spider-Man. I've never really thought of like issue 27 pages being worth any more than issue 37 or 47 or 67. So the idea that somebody would want to pick up this piece and pay more than like a great cover, like the kind of cover that you could have Conan and a girl fighting a monster on, like, for that kind of money, like one of the best Conan covers is kind of shocking to me. But again, it's a beautiful piece of artwork, but a very, very surprising high result.
But again, if you love Buscema, like I said, it's all worth what you're willing to pay. So,
well, sure, but I mean, a lot of times you do have to think about like what the opportunity cost is and what that money can buy elsewhere. Like, I mean, personally, I'd rather have a great Conan cover that has all the bells and whistles on it than that. But some people may feel differently.
Maybe it was somebody's first book. I mean, we don't know what
more than somebody. At least
but it was a strong result. I think we all can agree to that. It was a strong result.
Sure.
For sure.
And the other, by the way, the other Buscema splash, the Thor one, I thought went really high too. I think that one.
Yeah, that's on my list too. Yeah.
That one went for $20,000.
$20,400. That inked by Vince Colletta yet.
Right.
But it looked good. It looked good. The Thor 209.
But that's approaching cover territory for Thor.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah. Nope. Totally agree. And a lot of people had talked to me before the auction. I thought it actually almost undersold to me. The Web of Spider-Man 8 cover by Charles Vess. I know a lot of people were asking me about that one before the auction that they were going after. I know it sold for $30,000. But a lot of people, again, I'm not a Vess fan per se, collection wise. But somebody told me that he only did 5 Spider-Man covers in his career. Yeah. So I didn't know that. If that's the case, then I guess
it's a nice one. He's in the black costume. It's a good looking cover.
Yeah, it's a great looking cover. I mean, I didn't know if it'd go for 20 or go for 50, so it sold for 30. So a nice looking cover.
Because there's so few of those things, it's harder to gauge. It's harder to gauge the market because there's not a lot of comps for that piece.
Remember back in the day, that's what happened with Ditko. Ditko's Amazing Spider-Man price. This may surprise people that haven't been around for 20 or more years, but if you remember, around the turn of the century, Ditko's Spider-Man prices took a real dip, and for a couple of years because there just weren't enough pages selling, so people weren't confident in what the prices were, and it was just weird to see pages that I had, either owned and sold myself or seen go for less money. And I thought, what is going on here? Because it's not like the market just got flooded with, all 38 issues of Ditko ASM. It just made no sense. But then when I thought about it, I thought, I guess people don't have anything to compare it to. And that's sometimes
I remember when the Spider-Man 21 book got split up around turn of the century. Albert, I remember he had good pages for like $3,000 around the turn of the century. I bought pages for $3,000, $3,500.
That feels like 1900 to me when you guys keep saying that.
I know, but I remember Spidey 21 being one of the books where like, wow, a page with Spider-Man on it, and over half the panels for $3,000. This is like around 2000, 2001, 2002, and I'm going like, wow, that's a good buy. I remember that. But I was thinking the Gil Kane covers, Fear 20 and Ghost Rider 2 both sold for basically like $28,000. I thought that was, within the market. The McFarlane Spuddy 320 page selling for $26,400. I thought that was a pretty strong price.
It's a strong
price. There's not a lot of them out there, man. Everybody that wants McFarlane is buying them and not selling them. So the McFarlane Spidey market, I thought, was drying up. I thought even the 313 page wasn't really that strong, and it sold real well. But let's see. Just a little note I made. I just thought that a lot of the lower end, that was a good one. I thought a little on the lower end. I thought it was interesting just looking at not so much the highest price stuff, but I said 70s interior pages just in general. I mean, I just wrote a list. John Buscema Avengers 267 page, $2,040.
Yeah.
An Espo, not Espo, Ramona Freyden Super Friends cover, $5,040. I thought that went pretty well. But just in general, Don Perlin, like I was just saying, the 70s are now becoming RRS 60s. It's harder and harder. Like good 70s art now, you can't find it for under $1,000 anymore. I just wrote Perlin Ghost Rider 31 page, great page, $1,800. Jim Mooney Spectacular Spider-Man 34 page, $1,560. Frank Robbins DD 155 page, $1,560. Sal Buscema Marvel 2-in-1 42 page, $1,500.
Which sold for less than it was sold for privately.
Really?
A year ago.
But I'm just saying, and Kerry Gamble Marvel Team Up 119 page, $1,960.
That's huge.
That's huge. I'm just saying, I just think that the market, to me, like 1970s Marvel art, I'm just saying, it's hard to find a page with a main hero on it for under $1,000 now. It's almost hard to
70s and 80s and 90s art. But the other thing that I thought was really strong were the Batman covers were really, really strong in this.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that too. I don't know who the person was that bought that Colin Batman with him sitting in a chair.
Okay. I confess.
Oh.
Me. Now you guys can talk smack about the cover because I'll just say how awful a deal I got. Go ahead.
You want to hear this? I've always been a fan of Ernie Chan, and believe it or not, I bought the Spider cover, and I to me it's the Black Spider-Man 8 years before Secret Wars 8. So.
It always comes back to Spider-Man somehow.
The Detective
we're in Gotham City swinging with the Cape Crusader.
So that
came back to Peter Parker. How did that happen?
What's that?
That's how
Ernie Chan, a Detective 463 from the Heritage Auction. I said it's Black Spider-Man 8 years before Secret Wars 8 and Spidey 52.
So that you're going to market it as the first appearance of Black.
Oh yeah, Marvel pattern Black Spider-Man after this character in this issue. Absolutely,
it's a prototype cover.
Yes.
Oh wait, you're talking about the Detective Comics 463?
Yeah, that
one.
one.
Yeah.
Cover. All right, I got it.
Artistically, though, I love the cover artistically, and I'm glad Ernie Chan is finally getting his due because I thought his prices were always undervalued for years, but he's starting to get his.
He's a really good artist. Ernie Chan, I love his inking.
Last few Ernie Chan Batman covers have gone strong.
I think that's one of the best Batman covers he's ever drawn. I think it looks awesome.
Oh, it is good. No, it is. It's very good.
So the Black Spider, see? I mean, you just don't have the man, but Black Spider-Man. Come on.
Yep, that's his first appearance.
He's even swinging on a web. For crying out loud.
In the black costume, no less. That's crazy.
I'm thinking that
he's got a spider symbol, Mike.
I mean, listen, if you just darkened in that little crazy thing around his neck, that is
okay. Stop. Just stop.
Look at his form, and he even has a spider. It even has the
next, Bill. Next.
Holy crap! I didn't even know that. Anyway, a person mentioned about the Jim Lee pages. I saw that the Jim Lee page is a page from 272 and 274 went for 5,000. I thought that was about right, or did they go a little low in your guys' opinion?
I honestly didn't see them. I didn't see them.
The other Batman cover we didn't talk about was the I thought like a really strong price for the Garcia Lopez cover.
The Garcia Lopez cover, that's on my list here. Yeah.
The one that was so controversial in terms of what
it was a strong price, and I would say, I
Batman 313. Bill.
I collect and follow and enjoy Garcia Lopez, and I would say that among most of the collectors, I think Batman is probably at the top of the list, and probably what he did the fewest number of covers and interiors, because I think he only did maybe, going off the top of my head, we did a few detective stories, but for Batman, I think he only did 4 issues. I think he only did 4 issues. And maybe 6 covers, vintage ones I'm talking about. So, I mean, I think it's kind of like you just haven't seen many of these come out. And I don't think you would see Superman or DC Comics Presents or other titles going quite to this level because, you know, there's probably, I think there's about 30 Superman covers he did versus half a dozen Batman, and then maybe another, I don't know, 8, 9 DC Comics Presents covers. Right. So, I mean, there's just a lot more Superman than
Batman. Also, given how much there was like a lot of scuttlebutt about whether or not this was the published cover or an unpublished cover.
I saw that on Facebook. I didn't comment, but I mean, I think I said to you or maybe somebody else, I was 99.999% sure it was the real deal. This is not a particularly uncommon occurrence where, particularly with backgrounds, where they mirror and flip the image because editorial says, oh, we can't fit the logo, or in this case, oh, Two-Face's, you know, crazy freaky suit is on the wrong side. It doesn't match his scarred face. I mean, so that, you know, basically Batman stayed the same. Two-Face's body position stayed the same. His face stayed the same. They flip-flopped his suit and they flip-flopped the backgrounds to match the suit. And then I think maybe they cropped out, I don't know, 5 or 10% of the image and kind of blew it up. But there's a stat out there somewhere that's probably got a little bit of ink lines on it.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, the Batman stuff, I would say it definitely goes head and shoulders above most of his other work. I like all of his work. I think it's gorgeous. A lot of people think he was, you know, underappreciated, undervalued. I think the values are really have caught up, but this is a beautiful
fantastic artist. I mean, I think he's a technician on the level of like John Buscema, you know, like in terms of anatomy and you know, he's fantastic.
Oh no, the detail on this cover is extraordinary. It's awesome.
It is beautiful.
Well, that's the thing. That's the dead giveaway. There's no way he drew a mirrored image of this perfectly matching. I mean, you can match up the springs on the couch and the debris on the floor and on the dresser, and there's too much detail that you'd have to have an eidetic memory to do that. I mean, it's too much to do. You know, Jack Kirby could do that almost exactly, but you know, some of his Marvel's Greatest and FF covers, there's a couple where people think they're stats. No, he actually redrew some of those covers, sometimes the mirror image, and they're almost exact. But if you study them, you can find some differences, and a couple of them I've seen the originals in person. And there are slight differences other than the mirror image. And I'm just saying it's not that uncommon occurrence. The thing, and just to finish this off, the thing that cracked me up the most, whether it was the Facebook comments or Heritage correcting the description for the third time, is several people mentioned, oh, the cover's been photoshopped. Now that's a common way of saying Photoshop didn't exist back in 1979. Let's just get that straight. But I mean, that's a common way of saying it that I guess everybody would understand. Okay, it's been altered, but I thought that was, you know, hilarious, and I was like, photoshopped. It's 1979.
Well, so regardless of the controversy, it certainly, in my opinion, didn't really hurt the overall sales.
No, not at all.
No, and there were I mean, I know who won it. There were 3 bidders, you know, in the last few bids from what I understand, and no, it didn't hurt at all. I would actually say it I'm not going to say it helped it, but it definitely exceeded expectations because the guy that won it did not think he was going to pay quite this much. I mean, he won it because he's been looking for one for many years, a Batman cover specifically. He's owned other Garcia Lopez covers and didn't care to keep those, said he didn't really care about them, but he wanted a Batman cover specifically, and this is only the second one he had seen, so I've personally seen more, but you don't see them that often, so that's why.
No, you got a good one.
Yeah.
Hey, just a couple of quick. I was just going to mention just about the things I thought that sold well. The Paul Ryan Avengers 315 cover for 10,000.
Yeah, that was a big number for that.
But there have been some that have gone to that level, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the Ryan market is jumped. I thought for like FF and Avengers. I was surprised that the John Buscema FF 107 page selling for $9,000. I was surprised that they have. I know they have a thing transformation sequence. The Trimpy, the guy that bought, remember they had the whole book to 180 minus the stats and the Wolverine first appearance. The guy that bought that whole book, yeah, he put 3 pages in, and they were just so average Hulk pages, but they sold for 78, 66, and 6600 each. I thought those were pretty
Which would
solid.
be a lot if they were just run of the mill.
Right, and they were run of the mill. It's just they were from.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, from a run of the mill issue, I should say, and I guess 180 isn't considered a run of the mill issue.
Right.
So,
the John Buscema Thor 186 page for 4,080. I thought, John Buscema is finally starting to get some love for his early 70s stuff. I thought.
Right. Yeah, that was a big number.
Yeah. The Barry Smith Machine Man page, 11,400. I thought that was a pretty solid price for that to go for. And some astute collector bought the ASM 266 cover from 1985 for 16. I thought that was like one of the bargains of the auction. I don't know who the astute collector was that bought that, but
was it you, Mike?
Yeah. I just figured that's 1985 black. I used to own it. I sold it for $5,000 like 15 years ago. I said, I should get something back since I got rid of all my covers.
It is a funny phenomenon. We've talked about this many times, all of us, to buy something back for less than what you sold it for years earlier. And it's like, it's even when you don't want to buy it, you're like, well, hell, I sold this for more money. I could do it again. There was a JLA JSA page, I think from JLA 21 or 22. I think I bought it 3 or 4 times. And each time I sold it for more money. I was like, this is like the gift that keeps on giving. I don't get it, but I'm going to keep buying it.
I bought certain things. I think one piece I bought up to 3 times and sold it and bought it for less than what I sold it for before. The same piece, I think 3 times I've done that in the past. It happens.
It does happen. What's harder to do is when you really want to buy something you owned before, but it's much more expensive, and you have to do like the mental gymnastics in your head to justify the higher price. Like I find every year or two, I have to like make a mental adjustment, like where things are. Absolutely. And what I'm willing to pay for things, because it just.
If you want to keep collecting, and we've had this discussion. I mean, I've had the theory of the 5 to 6. I amended it to 6. But 5 to 6 year life cycle, the average collector, because that's about when prices would double, I noticed. And a lot of times when prices double, people have a hard time saying, wow, I'm paying double what I paid for, a very similar piece, in some cases a better example, and now I got to pay double just to have another one.
Right.
And a lot of people have a hard time doing that. And I mean, I've had a hard time doing that, but somehow I keep
discipline. But if you want to like stay in the game, you have to figure it out.
What's really hard is when you pay, I don't know, 10 or 15 or 20 or more times what you sold something for way back when. Now that's a special kind of discipline, right?
What I find is easier is it's like if you buy a cover from like let's say the Spider-Man run, and it's not a cover you owned before, it's like easier to sort of like see the value. You go like,
Absolutely.
oh yeah, but if you owned it before at a certain price, it's harder. I think that like ownership is a little bit of a deficit when prices keep rising.
It is. People have a hard time stepping aside. I mean, I've had people that want to get pieces back from me, years later that I got from them. And they don't want to pay market. They want to pay like, a third less than market because, it's like, well, I sold it to you for this much. And it's like, well, that was like in 2008. I mean, like a number of years have passed.
Right.
Yeah. I've had a couple of friends in Europe going like, hey, 2 years ago, you offered me that Spidey page for $20,000. Can I still buy it for 20? I'm going like, oh, no, you can't. I'm sorry.
I just had this conversation with.
You sound sad when you tell them, though.
Yeah, I hate selling collection stuff, but if the price is right, everything goes.
I had this conversation with a collector. I believe it was last night, who said that a dealer quoted him a price, and then he went back 6 months later to buy it, and it was higher. And I said, well, in original art, 6 months is a lot of time. I said, and he goes, well, if you don't want to pay it, that's okay. And I said, if I quoted your price and 6 months pass, I'd probably work something out with you. But,
Yeah, but the question is,
there's not a correct amount of time, because sometimes circumstances, market changes, and the truth is that's not always a two-way street. You know, dealers will get held to that standard, but collectors will definitely raise their price if 6 months have passed. I mean,
but it depends if it was on your website. See, my situation was something out of my private collection.
Well,
on
yeah.
my website, I know.
Right.
No. If it's still on your
but
website,
the price
6
on
months
your
later,
website,
the price is whatever the price is marked. You don't get to dump it.
Right. But I'm saying
Or you
something that's
shouldn't.
not on a listed website price. Right?
Yeah, no. That's different. No, I think this was
Private
something.
collection stuff, right?
This was something in the guys. I should say he's a pseudo dealer, but I think this was something that he he had for sale at a certain price, and then decided, well, 6 months has passed, I want more money now.
Sure.
And that's his prerogative. It's a little tough to lay on the person that was like, you were negotiating with before. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow. I get it from both sides, and that's why I said I would probably negotiate something, but
Sure.
Me personally, if I've quoted someone a price, I do feel like a little obligated to stick with that price, even 6 months. I mean, obviously, 2 weeks later, 6 weeks later, stick with the price. But 6 months later, and obviously 2 years later, no, the price is probably not the same. Maybe it is, but probably not. So it's a tricky pill to swallow for both sides. But it's just, I had that conversation.
I think the cutoff is 6 months and 1 day.
Okay, well,
cutoff right there.
I don't know if we'll ever decide that, but
right.
it's funny, I had that conversation just last night.
You have to kind of put it in your quote.
It's all kind of arbitrary.
Yeah,
it is.
This quote is good for 30 days, or it's good.
Well, that's the best. That's the best way to just.
You're going to cover your ass.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, did you have any other pieces you guys want to talk about, or we?
I think we might be good. I'm a little sad we didn't get to all the comments. I try to get to more of the comments for us, but I think we gotta
let Bill heal up.
Yeah.
I am pretty tired. I'm ready, but yeah, so we'll let you know when our next one will be. That's for sure. I saw people are asking about having guests and whatnot, and we've got 3 or 4 people that have emailed me.
We have guests lined up, guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
we do.
You're stuck with us some weeks. That's just how it is.
We just thought doing an auction recap and discussion was best not to bring in a guest to kind of that would just take away from their story with bringing them in. So the next get together, we'll definitely have someone here to chat with us.
Sounds good.
All right.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, you have a great evening. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.
See you in the fun pages.
Take care, everybody.